So, I have another reading from A Course in Miracles. You might get tired of hearing that. Yeah. Lesson 21, I am not a body. I am free. For I am still as God created me. I trust my brothers who are one with me. No one but is my brother. I am blessed with oneness with the universe. And my God, my Father, one creator of the whole, that is myself, forever one with me. I am not a body. I am free, for I am still as God created me. Now, for those of you familiar with the Course, you know that this theme is kind of a big thing in the Course. She read from it. And you might wonder, well, you know, it's this spiritual document that has all this stuff about not being a body. Oh my, I'm on the clock here. So, then why is all this talk about a body? Why? In Science of Mind, we know, we're infinite spirit. The Course puts it that way too. What you are is infinite spirit. If you listen to today's music, it also included that theme. But what happens when we forget? And we don't even know we forgot is often the worst part about it. I want to give you some examples of things that's easy to overlook when your mind is slipped into the theme of being a body. So don't be disturbed if I say something that keys into that today. Because it's the kind of thing you take personally. For example, suppose you're a woman who hears a man talk about a woman, but in the tone of his voice, you hear this creepy little word come into the phrase, leading it off. Only a woman. Now, you may not know it, but if you feel creeped out about that, angry, dismayed, confused, you've just become your body. Now, this is a subject I'm kind of familiar with in other ways too. I mean, the first time I heard the N-word and had it explained to me what that meant, I became whatever that definition of that kind of body was. I was angry. I was confused. And I asked, could that be right? I became the body as described by people who don't even know me. There's people in this room and on the audience who've experienced both those things, which I can say, at least I haven't experienced that. But these are all body references when we become our body. There are other situations when it's easy to slip into a body. And by the way, I call this having a special relationship with what keys you into it. A special relationship with the N-word, a special relationship with misogyny. It could be a special relationship with being a Chinese in India, a special relationship with the idea if you didn't go to college, it sometimes somehow means something, says something about what you are, not who you are, but what you are. You have a special relationship, and life keys into it, and there you go. Well, obviously, you all know what I'm talking about. This is something we all have in common. But there's other ways, too, that are even more insidious. Suppose you have a male body, and you're attracted to other male bodies, like most male bodies are attracted to women bodies. Or you're a female body, and you're attracted to other female bodies the way other female bodies are attracted to male bodies. Or maybe you're just attracted to all bodies. Suppose you feel some kind of way about that. Am I all right? Am I normal? Is this okay? What does that say about me? You have a special relationship with the idea that your sexual preferences somehow describes the quality of your spirit in that case. That's all it means. But it's important to know that. Let me tell you a story. Now, I came to New Jersey. Wasn't long after that I came to this community. Lovely community. Lovely, lively, and loving. But as hale and hearty as I was, a personal trainer, later on a life coach, so on and so forth. And I brought a pretty sturdy body with me, even though broke my neck, which caused me, a lot of pain, but good doctors fix that. These two hips I have are not as old as I am. But you couldn't see these things. I was moving well, I felt good. I ate well. She cooks, I eat. Well, that's the deal we have. About 2 years ago, I went through all the trouble it takes to go down to Florida to see my ailing mother. And that's a kind of a big deal for me because she has Alzheimer's, and some of you may know that. I've talked to you about that even this morning. And she loves seeing us, and these trips are important to her. They're important to me. My brother's involved. He helps arrange it. He works for an airline. He was a doggone captain. He was a pilot. So we had planned to go, made all the arrangements, all packed, ready to head out the door, and I realized, well, since I didn't ask any friends to drive me to the airport, I better call an Uber. So I sat down in my chair. As it turns out, I slumped down in my chair. Didn't really notice that. Picked up the phone, and I looked at Renee and says, I guess I'll call an Uber now and get out of here. She looked at me and she says, I don't think you're going anywhere today. Now, this trip had been planned for 2 weeks. I never cancel a trip to see her because it's a big deal. And I looked at her face, and I could see that she was absolutely seeing something I couldn't see. It was pretty bad. So, of course, I've been complaining about how miserable I felt. But the evidence was perhaps I'm worse off than this miserable feeling I have, and I spent, in fact, a half a year to discover what that miserable thing was. Severe rheumatoid arthritis. It's autoimmune disease where your immune system is actually consuming your physical body. Lightheadedness, severe weight loss, aches and pains, a roller coaster of sensations in my body, severe weakness. I passed out twice, fortunately in my own driveway, okay? And rheumatoid is one of those things you can't say, well, you had this, we'll give you that. You have to try things to see what works. That's the science, that's the technology of it. So it is. So one day I was going through all that, those ups and downs. And, this physical body's been here a little over 70 years. And most of you would be sweet enough to tell me, well, you don't look it. But on this day, I was feeling it all, plus the things I drug up from New York to New Jersey with me, and it was all just falling in. I looked at, all my life. I had gone through being a, personal trainer to life coach to reverend. I'm climbing that ladder, doing the spiritual work with the course. I am your Course in Miracles meeting facilitator, as you know. And I started to think, how is it with all this spiritual work, I can have a physical body that is such a misery? Instead of letting the thought come and the thought go, I reached up and snagged it down. And I started, I became my body. You know how there are moments in time when we hear the spiritual teachings that talk about our health. We heard it this morning. Seems like health is a kind of a spiritual thing. And when you lose your health, then what's up with you? What's up with you? You're having all these, what's going on? Something's wrong. Well, yeah. But no, something's really wrong. This is not a spiritual person having all these problems. Instead of just listening to the conversation and letting it go, I believed what I thought. I had achieved a special relationship with my health regarding who and what I was. Now, the nice thing about the spiritual life is that being in the dumps cannot be really justified. And people and teachings and music will drag you out of it, or some other spiritual connection you have. And I'm not going to go into all the things that brought me out. I'll give you some examples, but it's not the whole thing. It's the whole thing. All things, says the Course, are lessons God would have me learn. All things are lessons God would have me learn. There was a shift in me. It's one thing to respond to the situation your body's in. It's another thing to identify yourself only as that situation. And for a period of time, I'd forgotten that. So what does that mean? When I remembered it, I recognized this health failure is part of my spiritual lesson. That's all it is. Nothing more, nothing less. I've gone through a lot of spiritual lessons. Now it's time for this one. And I had this image of the train to enlightenment with all the stops on the way to learn from different teachers on the way to where you're going, and when you get there, you're enlightened. And I, in my youth, had decided that it runs by itself. It just goes along the tracks, and I get on and off when I need to. There it goes. Well, after all these years, it doesn't run by itself anymore. So now it's time to learn about the train. Okay? I need to take care of this train so I can get down the tracks. I got stuff to do, stuff to learn. The boiler's got a hole in it, but we can't stop. We need to fix it and keep going. We're a little low on coal over here, so we got to, get the coal going, get the boiler going. I'm now having my attention on this. That's all that's going on. The body is now part of my spiritual training. Ta-da. The failure of my health is not a reflection of a spiritual failing. Does not define what I am, because why? I am not a body. I am free, for I'm still as God created me. Now, it's not like I haven't learned body lessons before. That inward thing occurred when I was really young. And by now, all it does is when I hear it, tells me, okay, look out for your environment here. This could, you might want to figure out how to guide around the possible rocks where this word shows up. That means it doesn't mean anything about me. It says more about the person that says it than it by far it says about me, but that's because I know that I am not a body. I am free. There are so many lessons to learn from understanding that, whether the issue is misogyny in a woman's world, or the N-word for a person of color, or if you are a Jew in an Arab country, just to magnify the issue. Okay? There's so many lessons that the body teaches you. And there's moments when you're going to develop a special relationship to a pitfall in that lesson and define yourself by that body. That's the spiritual journey. And there's so much to learn, including, and this I think is the most important thing to learn, is the biggest lesson in the course for me, was to understand that just because I know I'm not a body, doesn't mean that group of guys over there wants to burn my house down because he doesn't like the color of my skin knows that I'm not a body. He doesn't know that he's not a body, but he's still my brother. Now, that's why I live in a brick house, but still. And so what I learned from these body things, that was the biggest lesson. That was forgiveness. I learned gratitude, patience. I learned, patience was a big one. I learned to keep my focus on the whole journey as a spiritual journey as it is. That there's no exceptions in this life to what is a spiritual journey. I learned, and I want to offer this to you, ladies and gentlemen, too, that if I am not a body, as you look at your neighbor, think, I know I'm not a body, whether my brother, my sister knows it or not. He is not a body either. And remember that when you interact with him. Hold the space for knowing that. You don't have to tell him, oh, you're not a body. You can just get right out of that cancer bed and, because you're not a body. That's nonsense. That's nonsense, and that's actually cruel. That's a denial of your own divinity. Maybe they need to be in that cancer bed for their spiritual development right now. Death is not the end of our learning unless you're a body. It goes on and on, doesn't it? So, one more lesson from A Course in Miracles. Lesson 205, I'm not a body, I am free, for I'm still as God created me. I want the peace of God. The peace of God is everything I want. The peace of God is my one goal. The aim of all my living here, the end I seek, my purpose and my function and my life, while I abide here where I am not at home. I am not a body. I am free, for I am still as God created me. Namaste. And now must go. Now must go.